2024 is almost over. It is currently Monday, the 30th of December, and I have decided that I would like to do the end of year book tag for 2024. Now, I have got all my questions from Larry Reed's new video, so I would highly recommend you watch hers because she's where I got all my questions from. And essentially, I have gone through the questions and selected a book, sometimes multiple books. I've tried really hard to just pick one, but it's very difficult because when I love a book or need to talk about a book, I need to talk about the book. However, without further ado, I'm gonna try not to get sidetracked and let's begin. The first question is the most disappointing read of the year. Before I show you this one, remember that everyone has different reading tastes, everyone has different reading experience, everyone has different life experiences which will impact the way they think about a book. And I respect you, so please respect me and please do not hate me for anything that I say, because in this video there are a few books which I am very nervous to talk about because I'm fearful of what some people may say if I do not have a stellar critique of the book. The most disappointing book of the year, in my opinion, is None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. The reason why this was the most disappointing read for me is because I am not a stranger to Lisa Jewell's work. I have read several of her books and I have actually quite thoroughly enjoyed a lot of them. Everyone was hyping up this book, talking about how amazing it was, how amazing the audiobook was. I ended up listening to the audiobook for majority of it, and the audiobook was very cool because it was like you were listening to a genuine true crime podcast. This book had all the elements that I would love. There was just something that happened in this book which I cannot get past, and this is definitely, I think, a personal preference. Some people may read this and not care. Me personally, I do. It's the whole rhetoric that a 13-year-old girl in this book, it paints a picture that the 13-year-old girl is actually the predator to her mother's boyfriend, a middle-aged man. I still remember his name, Walter, this evil man. No, he's not the evil one. 13-year-old Josie is. And I cannot stand that. And also I can't stand the fact that the podcast host in this book, Alex, she then, when she's telling the story, then says that Walter did some bad things, but he was a good dad. He's a predator. Walter is a predator. And I don't like the fact that that whole point was just glossed over. And I will never, ever believe that when in a relationship where someone is preyed upon, the younger person, it's not possible for them to be the evil one. It's not possible. And so therefore, that is why this book was the most disappointing for me. And I really do not like that. I don't like the rhetoric. I don't like it at all. And it's really disappointing because it was really just, I just can't move past it. And this book had so many other elements that I could have loved and adored. And I just wish, this instead Alex could have talked about the dangers of predators. But instead, she went down the route of going against Tracy. She could have also talked about the duality of being a victim yourself and also victimizing other people, like not with Walter, but like with her children and with other members. She could have gone down that route and instead didn't. The next question is, what was an underdog book? And I actually have two. I have two for this category. The first book I have is White is Bewitching. I have heard nobody talk about this book. I cannot stop thinking about it. This book, it has so many layers. Fairy tale aspects, paranormal things happening. This book explores racism. There are so many aspects and layers to this book, and I cannot stop thinking about it. It is actually so good. I want to reread this book so bad. I absolutely love the way this book is written. I am obsessed with the writing style. This book is so good, and therefore that is why it's an underdog book. The next book I would like to preface by saying this is not the best book you'll ever read. The writing is actually pretty basic, but I was pleasantly surprised by this, and I've read quite a few books by this author this year, and this one by far is I think my favorite, which is strange. It is Where He Can't Find You by Darcy Coates. Now this book, that cover is absolutely hideous. It does not do the book justice. The reason why there is red string is so eerie, and this just makes it look not good at all. So I don't like this cover at all, but I got this book for $12, so what can you expect? Honestly, this book has such strong Scooby-Doo vibes. It's also YA, but I feel like there are a lot of like darker elements to this book. There are some parts which are definitely predictable, but overall this book I would say is an underdog book because again, I've heard no one talk about this and it's like not that bad. I would reread this. I read this at the start of the year and I really did like it. The next question is, what was an overhyped book you read? I am very nervous to say this because this is a book from a series that everyone loves. So many people love this book the most out of the series, and I'm really honestly scared to say it, and I was actually contemplating putting this question to the very end, but I want to say it and just know that everyone has different personal tastes, and please do not hate me for this. I'm so scared to show you. I am, because that book is Heartless by Elsie Silver. I went into this book with expectations that I was going to love it. Instead, I just found Cade to be insufferable. I found Willa at times to be insufferable, but especially Cade. I mean, I do think they are both a match made in heaven, but Cade especially, he did so many things, which I was just like, that is just so creepy. So creepy. And I was just reading this and I just did not like it. The best part of this book was the other characters. In the entire Chestnut Spring series, this is my least favorite book. I even prefer hopeless to this. And that's typically the one that's not a fan favorite. It's just, there was something about this book that just grated on my nerves. I thought the kid in this book was cute, but I did not like it. I hated him so much. I'm calm and serene and I don't get mad at fictional characters anymore. Everyone has different things, but it was just things he was saying, the things he was doing, I was finding creepy and weird, and I was just like, ugh, you're disturbing. And if he was anyone else, it would be so disturbing. And also the word choices in this book, ugh, shudder. I can't. And this book is very overly sexual. They are constantly thinking thoughts about each other, constantly throughout the entire book. In this context, I was like, So this is the thing for overhype. Please don't get mad at me. The next prompt is a book that surprised you, and I'm going to have to go with Daisy Hates. Let me explain. I have now read every single book that is currently out in the Magnolia Parks and Daisy Hates universe, and can I just say that I absolutely love it. I love it so much that when I was literally passed out on the ground and the paramedics were like, you have to keep her talking, I not only talked about Manacled, my favorite thing of all time, I also talked about Magnolia Parks. I think that's how you know that I really love something, if that's what I'm talking about when they're like, you got to keep her talking about something. Now, the reason why this book surprised me is because I read Magnolia Parks, and I will admit, when I first read it, I was like, this book is filled with so many grammatical errors. Yes, there is some beautiful writing, but there is so many inconsistencies, so many grammatical errors. There's a million characters. I'm so confused. What is going on? I don't like BJ at all. I was just like, is this the book that everyone is loving? And then I started reading this. I love Daisy, but there are a lot of footnotes in this book, and it was giving me a little bit of a headache. I feel like so many of the footnotes are basically unnecessary, so I didn't like that. So it took me so long to read the first part. I also read them back to back, and I didn't realize that they were both set in the same time, which is why if I ever reread them, I'll be either audiobooking them or tandem reading them, which I definitely will be rereading them because I do love them now, and I feel like I will love them so much more now when I go back into them. If I am listening to the audiobooks, then I won't notice the grammatical errors. However, once I started, I think it was like halfway through, I binged this because it picked up, and I just love this book so much, and I was expecting to not like this at all, but really it was this book, the second half of this book, that propelled my love into reading this series. So that is why this book surprised me, because I was just like, oh, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have bought these books, but I'm really glad that I did. The next prompt is your favorite book couples of the year. I don't want to talk about Manacled, and also Manacled is technically not on my Goodreads because look, I'm always rereading it. I'm always reading it. I have read it several times already this year, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna look it on Goodreads because if I had to keep logging it, it'd be constant. So obviously I have to go with Draco and Hermione from Manacled. Obviously I have to. Don't read that book though. I feel like a lot of people will not like that book, you know, so you have to be careful. But also I've loved it since I was 15, and I just loved it, and I still love it to this day. But then the next book I have is Marianne and Connell from Normal People. I love Normal People. I'm one of those people that loves Normal People. It's just so many people do not like this. I do. I love Marianne and Connell. I just there's something about this book. Yes, I'm also rereading it because there's something about it. Also, I forgot to mention them, but Nesta and Cassian, I know they get a lot of hate, but I absolutely love them. They're my favorite couple in the entire series. I love Nesta so much. I love Cassian so much. They're my favorite book couple from the series. The next prompt is an author that you discovered this year. Whoops. That author is R.F. Kuang. I cannot stop thinking about that book. I love this book so much. This book is 5 stars, but I cannot stop thinking about it, and I also really badly want to read The Poppy War, and also she has a book coming out next year called Catabasis or something, and I'm so excited to read that. But honestly, this book, I will literally read so many. I love this book so much. I cannot wait to read The Poppy War. I feel like I'm just repeating myself. The way the world was written, the research behind it, the characters, the way that such like real topics are handled in this book, it's so good. Definitely an author I will buy from. Again, I love the writing style. I love how when you read it, you just know that things are written well, because there's nothing I hate more than when you're reading a book and there is inconsistencies and things aren't lining up. That's why R.F. Kuang is an author that I've discovered and I love. I literally ignored a question. It's your favorite main characters of the year. So we're starting off Magnolia Parks. Particularly Julian. There's not a question there, but number 1 book boyfriend, Julian hates the characters in this book right here. Specifically Akabor, specifically this book. The way all the characters and the personalities are shown in this book, this one right here. The next prompt is an author that didn't work out for you this year. This is another book that I'm nervous to say because it's widely loved, but that is Lynette Noni. And the reason why this author did not work out for me this year was because this book was so much like Manacled. There is a reading vlog that I have where at the end of it, I go through all of the similarities. I was reading this and I was like, no one can outdo the doer. I'm so excited for Alchemized. You don't understand. I'm so excited. And I've honestly never thought about unhauling. Like I have books from like literally when I was a child. But this book, I don't want it on my shelf because every time I look at it, I'm just like, it just feels like a rip-off version of Manacled because there are too many similarities. Maybe this is how people feel about Powerless and the Red Queen. Like, I didn't have much of an attachment to the Red Queen, but I have an intense attachment to Manacled. The next prompt is, what is the happiest book you read this year? Now, I was going through all the books I read, and honestly, there is not many. And even this one here, it deals with such heavy topics. There are such deep things in this, and it's cute, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's like the happiest thing ever. But this is all I can say, and that's Heartstopper. This is the only thing I can possibly say that's the happiest book that I read, because all of them, they're all like, there's such deep things behind them, and there's nothing that's really cute and fun. And there are other books that I have, and I'm like, I feel bad for saying it's the happiest book when it deals with such intense, heavy themes and topics. So I'm gonna have to go with Heartstopper, but really, it's nothing. Next, we have, what is the saddest book you read this year? Obviously, Manacled. That tears my heart out every single time. The ending, just everything. The most frustrating book you've read this year. This one was a little bit difficult for me to think about. If this was a question from last year, I would 100% know the book I'm going to say. I'm not going to say it because I feel like I've dragged it quite a lot, and I still have 2 more books to get through in a series, which I dragged. So I don't want to talk about it because I've talked about it quite a lot. I do have a movie though. I watched this movie recently. It was called Speak No Evil. That movie was so insufferable. The main characters, so annoying. Just so many decisions that they made were so stupid, and I'm just like, who could ever think this was a good idea? Instead, I decided to go with the friend zone. These characters really needed to have a conversation. The conflict was, it was very frustrating. This was generally the most frustrating book that I've read out of all of them. The next prompt is the best book adaptation of the year. So I'm just gonna go with things that I have watched this year that have been adapted from books. We're starting off Anna Karenina. Hello. Honestly, I really did love the movie to this. I prefer the book, but I thought the movie was still good. We also have Normal People. That show is so good. I have not finished this show. I'm still in the middle of it, but that's okay. But it is everything I know about love. This adaptation, I really did it's just a Dan series. I really did actually quite love it. But again, I prefer the book. So actually, I prefer the book in all the situations, but still, there's some good options. Next prompt is your favorite covers of the year. I cannot not mention the Spell Shop and the Sprayed Edges. Are you kidding me? This place is so whimsical and beautiful. I am obsessed with this cover. I'm obsessed with the detailing. I think it is absolutely beautiful. I love this so much. I also obviously cannot not mention Magnolia Parks. Are you kidding me? And all the things that all link together with stuff in the book. And also this one here, Divine Rivals. I don't know what it is about this cover, but I love this cover. The next prompt is a book you haven't stopped thinking about. Now I have several here. I'm going to start off with one that I have not mentioned, and then I'll tell you 3 which you know because I've talked about, but I'm trying really hard not to talk about things I've already talked about. Crime and Punishment. There is hardly a week that goes by that I do not think about this book, and I do not think about Raskolnikov, and I do not think about all the events that transpired in this book.
Also, all the moral reasoning and Raskolnikov's inner turmoil that he faces and experiences.
And I don't think about the atmosphere, the setting. This is a book that is so good. I don't know what else to say. And then obviously the other books I can't stop thinking about. We have Manacled, we have Normal People, and we have Magnolia Parks. The next prompt is an unpopular book that you loved. This is a book that I gave 5 stars. And it has a pretty low Goodreads rating. A lot of people do not like it. I do. I love this book. I want to reread it. This book is wild. This book is freaky. It's weird. I love it. I love this book. This one is interesting. It's books you thought you'd love but you didn't. Again, please do not hate me. I have 2 books here. First Wave Dead Poet Society. I rated this book 1 star. I thought this book was so weird. There's so many weird scenes. The movie is 100% better. The best part about this book is the cover. And I've explained my thoughts about this, and I thought I was gonna love it. Did not. The God of the Woods. I read it. It was a book that I read. It was pitched to me as a literary mystery book. I was so excited. I enjoyed it, but I think I read it at the wrong time. And so I will be 100% rereading this at some point. I'm gonna give it a few years before I go back into it. But this is something that I was expecting to love and adore and not stop talking about. I spent $36 on this book. I wanted to get this book for so long. I just see, okay, not 36, 34, $34.99 to be exact. But I raced to get this book. I wanted to read it so badly, and it was fine. And I think I just read it the wrong time. I'm gonna reread it. I'm gonna wait a bit, maybe next year. It's hard to explain. But I looked at this book and I'm just like, yeah, I read it, but I don't know. I read it pretty quickly. I either read it in a day or a few days, and maybe that was my problem. Maybe I needed to space it out. I'm not sure. Next we have book with the most unique concept you read this year. I have 2 for this. We have the 70s slip. This girl's aunt's apartment can go back in time 70s in the past. I did cry in this book. There was a single line and every time I think about it, it brings a tear to my eye. I'm just like, animals taking over the farm. Brilliant, genius idea for Animal Farm. Brilliant, genius idea. Loved it. Book you read this year that you would reread. I feel like I've already talked a lot about some books that I reread. I feel like I've also literally am in the middle of rereading books, but I'm gonna talk about 2 that I have not talked about because I feel like that's good. The Bell Jar, I love this book so much. This book I loved so much, and I'm 100% rereading. This is why it's back on my physical TBR because I want to read it again. I want to consume it again. I love this so much. The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, basically just the entire Hunger Games series. I'd love to reread. I love this book so much. I cannot wait for Sunrise on the Reaping. I'm so excited. It's so amazing. Goodreads 2024 reading goal reflection. So I set my reading goal for 100 books. I have surpassed that, which I'm proud of myself for doing. Again, keep in mind, like, it doesn't really matter how many books you read. It's about how much you enjoyed reading them. Next year, I want my reading goal to be, I'm gonna set it for 150, and I feel like that's crazy because I got nowhere near close to that this year. But I feel like I want to read as much of my physical TBR as possible. If that means reading 100 books, then maybe so be it. Will I get there? I don't know. Book you wish you got to this year. Really, the rest of the Throne of Glass series. I have read the first 4, and I feel like it's gonna be one of those book series that, again, I'm just gonna love. My love for them will only grow as the series progresses, but because I have not read the rest of them, the love is just kind of like stagnant a bit. But I really wish I finished that. My goal was to read it by the end of the year, but then I didn't do it. But it's okay because we have all of next year. And then the last thing is, what will you prioritize in your 2025 reading year? So I'll be prioritizing my physical TBR, and if I buy a new release, I need to read it instantaneously. So if I buy a book the day it comes out, I need to start reading it the day it comes out. I need to get it done within a few days. So it's like I never even bought it. I'm not gonna buy books just for them to sit on my shelf and collect dust. I'm not doing that anymore. That's what I'm gonna prioritize. That is all for this book tag. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me maybe some books from your own book tag, or like for some of the books from any of the prompts that I answered in today's video. Talk to me about some of my opinions. We can have healthy discussions about them. And yes, thank you so much for watching, and see you soon. Bye.